a computer keyboard, and in front of it, the FBI's most wanted man.
Kevin Mitnick.
Kevin Mitnick.
Kevin Mitnick.
Kevin David Mitnick.
Kevin Mitnick was born on August 6, 1963 in the Van Nuys area of California. His parents divorced when he was just a baby. His mother, Shelley, worked long hours to keep the house running, leaving young Kevin to spend most of his time alone. But solitude didn't break him. It shaped him. He wandered the streets of Los Angeles with curious eyes, not searching for trouble, but for how things worked. From a very young age, he was obsessed with technology and communication. By his early teens, Kevin was experimenting with amateur radio, tuning into police frequencies, trying to decode the world around him. The roots of what we now call social engineering were already forming. At the age of 12, Kevin had his first real breakthrough. On the city buses he took to school, he noticed drivers used a punch tool to validate transfer tickets. And then it hit him. If I could get one of those punchers and collect some blank transfers, I could ride anywhere in LA for free. His method? Pure genius in its simplicity. He approached a bus driver with innocent eyes and asked, "Where can I get a punch tool for my school project?" The driver, charmed by the sweet boy, told him. Kevin went to the store, used the same trick, and stole one. Then he discovered that at day's end, drivers dumped unused tickets into a trash bin near the bus depot. He collected them, punched them himself, and voila! Kevin had created a limitless free pass to the city. For months, he rode the streets of Los Angeles without paying a cent. He wasn't breaking the system to hurt it. He was outsmarting it. And this was just the beginning. As he entered high school, Kevin's obsession only grew. He was still playing with radio frequencies, but now he was also obsessed with telecommunication systems. Sometimes, just for fun, he'd hack into McDonald's drive-thru radios, impersonate an employee, and mess with confused customers trying to order food. He didn't want money, he wanted control. He wanted the challenge. He befriended older teens involved in phone phreaking and learned how to make long-distance calls for free. But Kevin wasn't content with that. He took it to a level even his mentors couldn't believe. Kevin could call phone company employees, pretend to be one of their own, and convince them of anything. At 17, he called the company's Secret Number Bureau, the place where celebrities' private numbers were stored, and introduced himself as Jake Robbers. "Our extension changed," he said calmly. "Did you get the update?" The agent, fooled, gave away the number. Then, Kevin called another department and said, "We're updating the directory. Should we keep your extension 354? "Yeah, that's still mine," came the reply. Piece by piece, Kevin built a full identity profile, then rerouted calls from that manager's phone to himself. When the bureau tried to confirm something, they unknowingly called Kevin, and he pretended to be the manager. He even recorded the company's hold music onto a tape deck, so when he said, "Please hold," and played it, the illusion was perfect. Even celebrity phone numbers weren't safe, but Kevin's greatest strength wasn't just technical, it was psychological. He knew how to read people, manipulate trust, and make you believe he was one of you. One day, a friend gave Kevin a phone number. It connected to a mainframe at the University of Southern California, used remotely by a major tech company called Digital Equipment Corporation, DEC. Kevin couldn't resist. He dialed in using a landline, pretended to be a DEC employee who'd lost his login details, and got a new account created. Then, he convinced support to grant that account admin access. From there, he copied a critical operating system software, one used by DEC's internal teams. He did all this in the 1970s at just 16 or 17 years old, using nothing but a landline and his voice. He didn't sell the code, he didn't damage the system, he just wanted to see if he could do it. But his jealous friends reported him. Kevin was caught, but since he hadn't used the data, he walked away with a warning. This was his first arrest, and it wouldn't be the last. By the 1980s, Kevin's name was whispered through the hacker underground. He wasn't in it for money. He hacked to test boundaries, to outwit systems. He cloned software. He rerouted telecom lines. He slipped in, slipped out, leaving no trace. One day, he and two friends broke into Pacific Bell's office. Beforehand, he had walked in during the day, charmed a security guard, and claimed he wanted to give his friends a tour after hours. That night, they found a list of codes used to access telecom hubs across California. Though he wasn't caught that night, the company was powerful and furious. Soon, FBI agents were knocking on Kevin's door. He was arrested, charged with stealing internal documents, and sent to juvenile detention. He became one of the youngest people in the world convicted of computer crimes. But when he got out, he didn't slow down. He hacked into NORAD, the US military's top defense system, just for practice. He later tried to breach the Pentagon via ARPANET, the early form of the internet. Still, he didn't steal, he didn't break. He just entered and left. By 1988, Kevin Mitnick had become a problem. He breached major computer networks. Again. The FBI was watching. He was caught, confessed, and sentenced to 1 year in prison and 3 years of supervised release. And for a while, he played by the rules. He worked a normal job. He stayed away from computers. But by 1992, just before his probation ended, he cracked again. Kevin accessed Pacific Bell's systems again, this time for their voicemail service. He said it wasn't about harm. It was about curiosity, the thrill. But he was being watched. This time, instead of surrendering, he vanished. He became the most wanted hacker in America, changing cities, identities, losing weight, altering his appearance, so the mugshots no longer matched. Newspapers called him the ghost of cyberspace. But Kevin wasn't done. In 1993, he learned the FBI was preparing a raid. So, he hacked them, tapped their phone lines, read their plans in real time. One story goes that when agents finally raided one of Kevin's hideouts, they found nothing but a box of donuts, with a note for the FBI. But Kevin was different. He wasn't just running. He was running and winning, taunting his pursuers like a ghost slipping through walls, always one step ahead. And in the process, he was building the legend of the greatest hacker in history. At a time when the internet and mobile networks were expanding at lightning speed, Kevin was blending old-school social engineering tricks with cutting-edge technology, wandering through the internal systems of corporations so massive you'd think it was fiction. But it wasn't. He got his hands on the source code for Motorola's newest phone, Ultralight. How? Simple. He pretended to be an engineer from another Motorola office. He tricked an unsuspecting employee into mailing the confidential code to him. Kevin would later describe this as one of the hacks I'm most proud of. He infiltrated Novell, Fujitsu, even Sun Microsystems, which would one day become one of the biggest software companies in the world. He downloaded proprietary source code, he unlocked systems, but perhaps most impressively, he never sold anything, never exploited it. Once he proved he could do it, he wiped the data and moved on. That was enough for him. The thrill of the challenge, the victory of outsmarting giants. During his time on the run, Kevin managed to access the credit card data of over 20,000 people. One of his favorite tricks? Instead of asking someone for secret information, he gave them wrong information, just to have them correct it. In one instance, he called the police department, pretending to be a traffic officer, and asked, "Is your request code 36472? The officer, confused, corrected him. "No, it's 62883. Boom. Kevin now had the code he needed to access a new identity. He remained calm, polite, charming even. With his fake ID, he rented an apartment on the other side of the country, kept a low profile. Daytimes were ordinary, but when night came, he logged on, reached out to distant servers, and danced once more in the digital shadows. He was more careful now, smarter, cautious. One of his most ingenious tools? Cloned mobile phones. He could copy someone's phone identity and use it to make calls. So even if the authorities traced the number, it would point to someone completely unrelated. He was becoming untraceable. But no matter how clever he was, it was almost impossible not to leave some digital trace, especially online. Usernames, footprints, transferred files, and eventually, these digital crumbs led to his downfall. Kevin had set his sights on a high-value target, one that stroked his ego, one that would cost him everything. Tsutomu Shimamura, a brilliant Japanese-American computer security expert who even advised the government, respected, sharp, and about to become Kevin's next victim. On Christmas Day, 1994, with help from an Israeli hacker friend, Kevin breached Shimamura's home network. He wanted a special piece of software, rumored to allow remote access to mobile phones. And yes, part of it was also about pride. He wanted to humiliate someone the world thought was unhackable.
And he did. He hacked Shimamura, downloaded the files, felt the rush of beating a top-tier security expert. But the victory was short-lived. Because a year earlier, Kevin had already tried to hack Shimamura and failed. So Shimamura had prepared. He had set up a monitoring system, one Kevin didn't know about. Once he saw the breach, Shimamura studied the logs, found where the data had been transferred, and called the FBI. Now the hunt was on. By January 1995, Shimamura and a team of experts were monitoring Kevin's online activity in real time. Every chat, every move, every exploit. Even his conversations with his hacker friend were recorded. The FBI realized just how dangerous and brilliant Kevin really was. On the night of February 13th, they made their move. FBI agents surrounded the apartment complex. They waited, tracked signal strength, pinpointed the exact room.
FBI, open up!
They stormed in. But Kevin wasn't at the door. He was lying flat on the floor, terrified. The game was over. He was arrested. And at his hearing, as he entered the courtroom, his eyes locked onto someone staring back with quiet triumph. Shimamura. The man he tried to humiliate was now the key witness against him. The prosecution argued Kevin was so dangerous, he could start nuclear missiles just by whistling into a phone. No one really knew what he was capable of. He was placed in solitary confinement for 8 months before even going to trial. While he waited, hackers around the world defaced websites with giant messages, "Free Kevin." But nothing changed. To his peers, he was a legend. To the justice system, a threat. In 1999, Kevin was found guilty of 14 counts of wire fraud and computer crimes. He was sentenced to 46 months for the hacks and an additional 22 months for violating parole, a total of nearly 6 years. By 2000, he had served almost all of it. He was released under strict conditions: no technology for 3 years, no phones, no internet, no computers. He tried to live quietly, but years of pursuit, prison, and isolation had left scars. The wild cyber rebel of the 90s was now a man in his late 30s, wiser, more cautious. Eventually, the restrictions lifted. He started a cybersecurity company. Ironically,
He now helped corporations defend themselves against the kinds of attacks he once orchestrated. Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak even gifted him a computer. Kevin returned the gesture by naming his firm, Mitnick Security.
He wrote books, gave talks, advised the government, and often repeated one powerful truth. Software flaws can be patched, but human stupidity? You can't download a fix for that. Then, in 2022, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He fought it for over a year. But in July 2023, just before turning 60, Kevin Mitnick passed away. His wife was pregnant with their first child. He had conquered the digital world, but would never get to hold his own son or daughter. From punching bus tickets as a teenager to breaching the most secure networks in the world, Kevin's journey was over. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget, this channel is built entirely by one person. Your likes and comments are the fuel that keeps it all going. See you in the next video. And as always, stay curious, stay safe.